Call the regular meeting of Pine Township Board of Trustees, April 24th to order. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have the agenda before us. Do I have any additions, deletions?
Yes, sir. Item number 3 under zoning will be withdrawn.
Under number 3
Yes, sir.
is, okay.
Highway system business.
And I have removal of unfinished business, both 1 and 2.
And 2 unfinished business.
And concerns of trustees, I'm just gonna put DAR donation, DAR.
Anyone else? Anything else? All right, the agenda will stand as edited. So we'll go ahead and get started with the sheriff's monthly report. Sergeant Paul.
Evening, everybody. How you doing today?
Doing well, how are you?
Good. So we got March 2018 monthly report. Calls for service was 1,566, which was up 38% from 2017. Our crashes were also up. We had 76 crashes. Crashes with injuries were also up. We had 14 of those. It was a 57% increase from 2017. Alarms were actually down. We had 86 alarms in 2018 for March, and that's down 27% from last year. And then traffic stops were up. We had 282 traffic stops with 183 citations, and then we had 82 arrests, and they did 774 vacation checks. Everybody in the plane was on vacation.
Yeah, wow.
Detective Ross, he was assigned 33 cases. He closed 15, 9 thefts, a burglary, and an unauthorized use of a motor vehicle for March. And then you have the chart for 2017, 2018, and then the 5-year look back. And as you can see, this year we're up quite a bit from the last 5 years, and again, there's more boots on the ground, and just more traffic stops getting made, more stuff going on. Do you have any questions about it?
No.
Thank you.
Be safe. All right then, that takes us to new business.
Thank you. Item number 1, I'm very excited to talk about, well, to turn it over to talk about our healthcare renewal. Our relationship with Sarah has started out, absolutely on the right foot. I've never had more communication, more information that I've needed, suggestions, recommendations. Gosh, if I email Matt, he's right back to me immediately. I'm the one who's more of the pain. So just a very, very good relationship from the get-go. Already come to me with some ideas for some other things to go to market to take a look at, and I think we're really headed in the right direction. So with that, Matt, if you want to talk about the renewal.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us out tonight. I wanted to talk about the renewal with Healthcare. You'll be getting a sheet that's coming around, and you essentially have 2 columns on that page where your current numbers are and where the renewal numbers have ended up at. This is the final renewal. It started out much higher. So the top box there is administrative fees, 2.9%. We have some opinions on that, but they weren't budging on the administrative fees. The spec is obviously, the specific stop loss is the most glaring aspect of any renewal as far as dollar-wise. So that is going up 4%. They originally had that when we first got the renewal at 11.5%. So that $233,599 there was actually $250,446. We negotiated with them, got that down to 4%, which we feel is pretty fair for this year. The aggregate stop loss went up 4%. Expected claims, the maximum attachment point, and I should say I'm kind of hitting the gray lines on this sheet, both at 0%. So your total fixed costs went up 3.9% from 266 to 277,024. That started out at 10.2%, so it was a more significant increase. Like I said, we negotiated back and forth with Healthcare. Threatened to shop it. They did come down. First they came down to 6%. I told them we needed a few more. They came down to 4%. And I feel that's fair. I know you got a 3% last year, and actually, to speak on this for a second, you were running worse last year. Your claims were higher. You had more high dollar claims, all of that, and they gave you a 3%. This year the claims were a little better, and they come out with an 11.5%. So we had to talk about that with them for a while. They have their reasons for doing things, basically saying there always has to be some sort of cushion there so that when you do have a bad year, they don't have to come out with a 30 or 40% increase, but still, we want them to be fair from year to year. Didn't feel the 11.5% on specific was fair. So, do think that the 4% is a good increase. If any increase can't be good.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, 4% is not huge. 4% is fantastic. Because, you know, if you're in the business world, you're getting anywhere from 11 to 15% increases and up, so.
I just tell with ours, the office, and I mean, high single digits.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this is half.
Maybe you should give your business to Sarah.
Thanks, Lisa.
Can we get to vote on that?
Unfortunately, no, that's private enterprise. The owner,
Darn.
Yeah, it's not
it
your
doesn't
decision,
mean
I
we
know.
can't talk.
Yeah,
Oh, I
it
drive
is,
it and
well.
influence, I drive it and influence it, but
Yeah.
trust me, there's easy things. I can
So, Matt's being humble. He worked very hard on this, and a 4% renewal is fantastic.
Well, you
It really
compare, I
is.
mean, you compare it to inflation, you put it in relationship to inflation, cost of living, and it's really not much more
Yeah.
than that, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I will say that the township employees do a great job utilizing it. They do it the right way. They use the network doctors. Your prescription usage is great. And so that helps as well. They are making some changes this year, changing the premium levels a little bit. So you have 3 tiers at 40, 65, and 80. Urgent care copay going from 25 to 50. ER copay from 50 to 100. And the specialty tier for prescriptions, which was a $500 copay, will go to 50% up to a max of $700.
And that's probably the last step for that.
Yeah, I don't
Going higher on that. I
see.
mean, it took 3 years, and then I do like the not to exceed, 50% or not to exceed.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I have to say it was our smoothest renewal that I've had in my 12 years here at the township.
I know the first couple of years when I was really hands-on, how much back and forth, it was just wasted time.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's try to eliminate that.
Yeah, I think we have the right team together now to take care of that, so.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your hard work.
Let me give this to you.
Okay. I'll get that turned in for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I do have a resolution by the Plain Township trustees to accept the attached proposal with Alt Care Insurance to administer our Plain Township medical insurance program for the period of June 1st, 2018 through May 31st, 2018. So Alt Care is the insurance, and there'll be the TPA, the reinsurer, and Alt Care will be the network. Yeah, so, yes,
I'll move
to
on.
2019.
I'll move on that with the modification,
Yes.
as Lisa verbally
Yeah.
noted, from 2018 to 2019 is the resolution itself, actually, has been noted 16 to 17.
Yes.
Yes.
So I will second that. based on the edited dates. So it's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good evening, gentlemen.
And then item number 2 is just a public notification reminder to the department heads that our next meeting on May 8th is election day here in the township. The township hall is used as a place to vote, so the meeting will be changed to Fire Station number 3 at 2625 25th Street. Everything else stays the same time, just a change in location.
As a follow-up to that, this is something honestly I think we need to not just do because it's election day, we need to do this probably 2-3 times a year. I mean, you know, you're looking over on the southwest side of the town. Most of those folks, regardless of how much we communicate, tend to feel neglected, right, wrong, or indifferent. So, I mean, this may be something in the second half of the year we look to reconsider. I mean, we may want to push and promote it a little more over there, just so those folks will come out. Because I know that a couple of times we've had stuff over there, whether it's been like crime watch prevention, meeting to, you know, when the Hall of Fame was going. That was, I mean, that was so well attended, it was beyond a standing room, you know, it was packed. So I think it's something the board needs to be cognizant of and consider for some time. Second quarter, maybe late summer, early fall while it's still warm, so if we gotta have the garage door up to accommodate, we're good.
I agree. Thank you.
And that's the end of new business.
Thank you. That takes us to the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for a resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in the amount of $605,442.41.
I'll move on fiscal officer number 1. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Just really to clarify, I mean, this is higher than our normal, but this is related primarily to 2 line items, our new medic unit and then the Rotary, Sheriff's Rotary Fund, they can bulk that up, so.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment for the following medical claims.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the investment report for the month of March. The total interest was $11,958.19.
That may have been the biggest jump we've seen in a while
That's
Yeah.
a big jump, isn't it?
compared to what's been happening.
Compared. Wow. Huh. That's bad.
Fiscal Officer number 5 is the bank reconciliation for the month of March. If there's any questions, I'm available after the meeting. And Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes the Fiscal Officer report.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. That moves us to the administrator.
Thank you. I have a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adopt the revised Plain Township handbook.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
All of the changes in the handbook have been changes that have been made by resolution over the last few meetings. So it was time to put it all together. We'll get it out to all the employees, get it signed, but I think we're in good shape.
Quick question. Is that something we can get away with whoever got it by emailing it to them and then getting a signed off acknowledgement form and then it's only print on demand?
That's what we were doing, yeah.
I wasn't sure if that's what we were doing. It's
That's
just
what we're doing.
it's just a ton of paper.
Yeah.
It
Even
is.
printed on both sides, I mean, this handbook's
Yeah,
reduced down significantly because we've printed
Correct.
both sides
Yeah.
instead of one side.
Especially to fire where the bulk of the employees are. Chief has all of the emails of the employees, so he'll send it, probably do a read receipt, and then, you know, it's their job to sign just the form to get back to us.
They probably would want that anyhow.
Yeah,
Look at things faster.
yeah.
Do a delivery receipt, a read receipt,
Yeah.
and then still have to sign.
And we
the
still have to
form.
sign off, yep.
Okay.
And
Good.
that's the end of the
Anything else?
oh, sorry. All
Roll call.
right.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that's the end of the administrator report.
Thank you. That moves us to the fire department chief Shalmer.
Thank you. Item number 1 is our monthly report.
Oh, you have a thank you on the monthly report, I see,
Yeah.
with the picture, because there's not one in communications, but you did it on the, okay.
That one's actually displayed a little bit neater.
Yeah,
Is Joe gonna have one to match it?
next meeting.
Next to one of this truck. This has been a busy month for you, hasn't it? Last month and this month.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
bad couple months for fires.
Yeah, I know. Any questions for the chief? Next.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the approval for payment to Physio Control for maintenance contract for the following heart monitors and Lucas machines to expire in 3/31/19, the amount of $16,200.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. This is just a,
Yeah, that's for all the maintenance to keep, the heart monitors working correctly,
calibrated,
calibrated, et cetera.
compatibility things.
Batteries, the whole deal, so.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And number 3 is a resolution to authorize purchase and payment to Stryker EMS equipment for 2 Stryker ambulance cot load systems in the amount not to exceed $56,000 to be taken from Fund 28A05.
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded, discussion.
This is what we just saw.
Yeah.
Just as a follow-up, those are to basically update our 2 older ambulances to be like the new one we just had out front. Those would help with lifting injuries, safety for the patient, for if we would, hopefully we don't ever have an accident, but if we have an accident, for patient care. And it does help us with our workman's comp summaries for back injuries.
And you said they're rated at 650?
650 pounds, so.
Can't imagine 2 people trying to lift a patient at 600.
Yeah, okay.
Especially if you're on a hill,
Right,
where you're lifting extra.
And it is more comfortable for the patient too, because, because of the weight and angles of the ambulances, you have some roll effect inside, so it'll go in straight, you won't have to move to lock it in. So it is a gentler transition into the ambulance too.
Yeah, because if you're sitting sideways, the cot's gonna wanna move to that side, so.
Right.
All right. Good.
Good demonstration, glad you showed it to us,
Yeah.
how it operates.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution to authorize payment to emergency vehicle repair service for the installation of the 2 ambulance cot systems, not to exceed $4,000.
I'll move on FD4.
I'll second
It's
it.
been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to approve the attached job description for the part-time firefighter, paramedic, and EMT. All the wages and benefits were established for the earlier resolution.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Number 6 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to promote Andrew Byler, Wayne Conroy, Logan Hinkle, and Ryan Jones to the position of firefighter paramedic class 1, effective 7 a.m. on May 6, 2018.
So moved.
Seconded. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
This is moving the new hired full-time people from their, I guess you say, orientation time to actually shift work for 24 hours a day. So we have to move them up a step to make that happen.
Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 7, resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the reimbursement to Michael Hill for $320 for healthcare membership according to Division 37 of the collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Thank you very much. This concludes part.
Thank you. And that takes us to road department. Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is the Marsh's monthly report. This report today, we took all the spinners off the trucks, spreaders.
All off.
They're all off.
That's a good sign.
No more snow.
It's a good sign.
Put
Oh, we don't have to put them back on.
You can't get out of it for a while, right?
Yeah, they're buried.
All right.
Should be down the way.
Item number 2 is the list bids for the road material bids were received from those companies listed in the, for the minutes. We had slightest increases on gravel. Actually, our limestone went down $3 a ton.
Joe, do you attribute any of that to, some of the reduction in pad building with oil and gas, that there's not as much competing demand for that supply, or is there any specific factors that?
For some reason, last year, National Line didn't bid on our thing, so we had to go all the way to Massillon to get it. This year, they bid on it, and they were $3 lower than the price we actually paid last year. So maybe they've slowed down, because they were doing a lot of work with oil and gas.
I'll move on road 2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Anything else, Joe?
No. Well, asphalt, some of the asphalt prices went up. We got a little bit.
That's fuel. Geez.
Yeah, oil prices.
Yeah. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a motion by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, invitation for bids, whereas making the determination of the best interest of the township, Plain Township Board of Trustees have properly considered its costs associated with the road material loaded in township trucks at the bidder's place of business by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to award the 2018-19 road materials to companies listed.
So moved.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Anything, Joe? Need to-
Asphalt prices have gone up from $3, some gone up $30. Curb mix,
Went up
like that,
$30?
gone up $30 a ton. So we'll have to talk about that.
Curb mix went up?
That's-
For what?
It went up to $30 a ton, it went up.
Curb mix.
Curb mix.
Because that's special, right?
Special going.
Wow.
They only make that certain times of the year.
Certain times of the year, and it really went up for some reason. We could only get it in one place, Central Valley.
Are there a lot of other places still using it?
No, I gotta think we're probably one of the lone soldiers still
Okay,
doing it.
that's-
So,
All
Tough
right.
service to just say,
Yeah.
we're not doing it anymore, because we have so much of it out there.
Okay. All right. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is the awarding bids for the materials of Central Allied, Oster Sand and Gravel, National Limestone, North Star Asphalt, Highway LLL Asphalt, Maslin Asphalt, to sign the contracts for those bids.
I'll move on road 4.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 5 is the list of bids for the 2018 paving and road repair project. Bids were received from Central Allied, North Star Asphalt, Superior Paving.
I'll move on road 5.
second it.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion. I just want to look this over.
Superior was definitely aggressive.
Yeah, they said that after the bid, they told me that they really wanted our bid this year. They haven't had it for about 10 years. But we have taken, Chuck's got a large portion of that at the bottom, as you can see. And we are working with North Canton on a portion of Orion Road that they'll be paying their share of too. So probably our actual road department budget out of that will be about $55,000 less than the 1.43 million.
Do they have half the street or all of the street up to a certain?
They have 2/3 of the street.
Okay, I knew it was kind of crazy through there.
Yeah, it's a weird way they did it, and, but North Canton's been gracious in doing their share.
And it only makes sense to do that because that would be a nightmare to try to piecemeal. So,
That's Rob Brown.
Rob Graham.
Or Graham, yeah.
how many miles?
17.4.
Is
It's pretty close to last year's.
Is that 10-year cycle is what it?
We're getting better,
Get caught
yeah.
up.
Joe, you in the past have been happy with Superior, I know they've got one for us before, they were,
Yeah, we've never had a problem with
they
them.
were on a problem.
This year, we're actually doing a little, about 1,000 feet more curb and gutter too, so that price came in real reasonable, I guess.
Good, roll call?
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Item number 6 is a resolution by the Board of Trustees, Plain Township, to award the 2018 Plain Township paving and road repair project, application of hot mix 448 asphalt milling, pavement markings, curb and gutter replacement for the project to Superior Paving as the lowest and responsible bidder for with the following prices.
I'll move on road 6.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion.
I'll just read the total, it's $1,443,646.50 for 17.4 miles of road and 2,500 feet of curb and gutter replacement.
18 miles.
And then, just a quick question on any other paving. Did we have some parking lots or something that we were
Yes,
going to
we're going to
include
do
in that
Road
price?
Station 4, the access road into the yardways and all around Chuck's new training building.
So just for the sake of the people in the audience, when we get these prices, as we look at some of the other projects that we have to do, we get a much better pricing by including that in there. So I appreciate you guys looking at that and working together, coordinating that. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 7 is a resolution to hereby resolve by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the execution of the contract with Superior Paving for the 2018 Plain Township Paving and Road Repair Project.
So moved.
Second has been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 8 is a resolution to authorize the posting of temporary no parking signs for the lacrosse tournament in the Diamond Park allotment area on Diamond Park with the addresses below for the weekends of, will be put up on May 11th, taken down on May 14th, and then reposted on May 18th and taken down on May 21st.
So moved.
Second, it's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Item number 9 is a resolution authorizing posting of temporary no parking signs for the cross tournament on the north side of Diamond Street and on the middle branch from Diamond to Prospect on the west side of the road. Posted on those dates, May 11th, taken down on the 14th, and reposted again on the 18th, and taken down on the 21st.
I'll move on road 9. It's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Item number 10 is a resolution to hire Mark William Reed as a summer employee for the road department effective May 14th at the rate of $11 an hour with no benefits, pending pre-employment drug and alcohol screening.
I'll move on road 10.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
And item number 11 is a resolution by the Board of Trustees to authorize the Highway Superintendent Joseph Icino to execute all property valuation agreements for the Linford project. Be it hereby further resolved that all final offers be contingent upon the decision of the Board of Trustees.
I'll move on road 11.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded, discussion.
This is our last, everything else is, we acquired. We moved one of them so we didn't have to remove the, like, after they did all their calculations on the land per acre, what it's worth and what we're actually asking for, they're gonna offer $650 for the easement that we want. And we're going in with a different mindset to tell them that right now, they're getting flooded everywhere.
So they like.
We're gonna retain that water in a pipe and actually make the property better. So that's where we're going with this. This is holding up the project from getting started. Met with Gary Connors and the contractor last week. They're ready to go. You know, I don't want to lose the commissioner's money.
Neither do we,
gotta get
yeah,
moving on this.
Nor do we.
Well,
and-
these people have been suffering for a while. This is a big one that needs to get.
10 years now, I went back and looked at our first set of plans.
They have-
Yeah.
Started out originally as 3 property owners,
Yes, but
and
they had the
then
pipe on
decided
that side
to
of the
move the
road.
pipe.
Because the one property owner said she'll never sign anything. So
Yeah.
we just moved the pipe to the other side of the road. This way we did not have to get an easement from the property owner on the east side of the road.
Good.
Was that one property owner in the flood zone, would have been part of the flood?
She got very low. She still has a ditch in front of her property that'll stay there. It won't be a problem.
Okay. Roll call.
Nice job.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. All right, thanks, Joe. I think that may be the longest list that you've ever had for a while.
Yeah.
Eric's got me timed.
Yeah. All right, so now we go to zoning, Mr. Ferraro.
Thank you, sir. Item number 1 is the monthly report.
It's coming in front of you, quicker.
I think it's interesting to note on the first item on the list, new residential. For March, we had 10 new homes. For the first quarter of the year, we've had 16 new homes going.
That number's on there.
Tom, if I could tell you that Vince has been so good to work with. He gets back with me right away. I give him some crazy jobs right now. He's right on it, calling me right away. I get back to the residents right away, let them know what's going on, but just, you know, and I try to tell him he's such a good job he's doing, but he's a pleasure to work with. He gets out there, because it's gonna be a busy year, you know, and he's gonna be.
Yeah.
But whatever you guys are doing, communicating with these people, it's really gonna help him, so.
I agree.
But he's really a pleasure to work with.
Next.
Item number 2 is a resolution to declare item A as a nuisance abatement.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning tonight.
Thank you. That takes us to parks.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 1 is the monthly report. I can take questions an hour later.
activities.
A lot of activities.
Okay.
To say the least.
Number 2.
I'll do 2 and 3 together. Just a reminder to the public that we do have Camp Recycle coming back to Plain Township, June 18th through 22nd. You can register for those online at our active link provided both on the website as well as in the flyer. Also, Quick Start Tennis will again be coming back to Alpine Park in July. Same thing, go ahead and register online at Active at your convenience.
All right, takes us to number 4.
Item number 4, I'm going to do with a quick kind of correction as I walk through this here. It's a resolution to hire Rachel Bender as a seasonal hire for both a soccer instructor for our camp, as well as a buildings and grounds maintenance seasonal worker. We have a typo here, it's actually not $10 an hour, she's coming back, so it's $10.25 per hour. Hire date effective 5/11/2017, to be paid from funds 14A01B for the soccer piece and 01B01 with no benefits for the seasonal piece, all pending pre-appointment drug and alcohol screening.
So moved.
Second, it's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 5 is a resolution for the Plain Township Board of Trustees to hire Sam Otland at a rate of $10.25 per hour from Fund 01B01 with no benefits, also pending drug and alcohol for seasonal work.
So moved.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 6 is a resolution to hire Dave Perdue for seasonal buildings and grounds work, effective date 4/25/18, at the rate of $10.75 per hour from Fund 01B01 with no benefits, also pending drug and alcohol screening.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 7, finally, is a resolution to approve and authorize payment to Closer Clark in an amount not to exceed $2439.40 from Fund 14A08 for electrical updates both outside and inside of Diamond.
So moved.
Second, it's been moved and seconded, discussion.
Just very quickly, we needed some work done at both of our boxes outside that we have vendors plugging into and that we utilize for community events, as well as the need inside to update and add an electrical outlet because we have machines now running that are pulling a lot more power and we're getting breakers flipped. So it's just easier to add that and eliminate that issue.
Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
That's all for parks, thank you.
Thanks, Rob. That takes us to the law director, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, sir. 2 items on the agenda tonight. The first one is an annexation filed by the city of Canton. They're calling it the 44th Street Northeast annexation. It is for 1.896 acres. It is an expedited type 2 annexation, meaning obviously that all the property owners have agreed. There are 2 different parcels that are included in the annexation. And as you can see from the map, it's on off of 44th Street there.
We had a chance to talk to anybody regarding that.
Have not,
So we don't even know the logic of.
do not.
I mean, my initial thought was, is this gonna tie into the whole golf course
It is definitely in that area,
situation? Which is,
but they were already there. If you look at the map, they're already
yeah.
there anyway, so it doesn't help them with contiguity.
No, I mean, if those people can annex, so could the golf course have
Sure.
annexed from that side.
From that same
I
position,
mean, where, I guess, what's the?
or the other side.
I don't know, what is that?
That's the same discussion that we had at the
We kind of had that amongst
Yeah, I don't
ourselves,
know.
trying to figure out the logic of those 2. And when you look at the map, there's a piece of L-shaped property on the southwest corner that actually the city of Canton owns.
Oh, okay.
They're the owner of that very small piece.
Right.
So I don't know if that has something to do with the connection of the roadway there.
Mrs. Pocock, have you been approached to annex?
No, but I am involved, my property is contiguous to
Correct.
this.
The backside, that L shape is on the backside.
And this is Tom Schillig, and he lives next to me, so we're here for this reason. So we don't want to interrupt your meeting.
Oh, no, but,
No.
no, that's fine, because it's appropriate right now. We're okay with that? Yes,
Absolutely.
please.
This was a complete surprise, of course, we are dealing with Meadow Lake. I
Correct.
mean, we know that that exists. And last week, I get this packet of papers from Kansas City about these people wanting to annex. This is two families, an older couple that have lived in their house for a long time, and their daughter and son-in-law who built a new house where there was an existing property before. My suspicion is, and you found out about this, that it is a sewer and water thing, but it's only our suspicion.
Yeah.
It's already there, it's already.
Yeah, I called the water department yesterday to inquire as to whether, not to this specifically, I didn't mention the properties, but I said, if I were in a township that bordered Kansas City and I wanted to tap into your water and sewer, would I be permitted? And she said that she would have to check with the engineers. And she said that in the past, there have been times when they would allow people not in the city to acquire the water and sewer, and there's been other times when they would not. It just depends on where they are.
Right, if they want to annex it or.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a financial thing or whatever. So after talking, and I says, well, if I were to inquire or request to get water and sewer, being in a township, could I at this time? And she said, well, I'll have to check and see. And she came back on the phone about a minute later. She says, right now we are not taking any other client or customers for water and sewer unless you are in the city. So I thought maybe that was a reason for them wanting to annex.
That is the biggest reason usually.
You know, what's sad is in the past, we've worked with the city of Canton where allotments have come in with a high percentage that they want water and sewer, and those allotments in Plain Township now have water and sewer, and they've worked with us, especially the city of Canton giving us Canton water. So it's just funny now that, now they say they're stopped working with, I mean, I live in Avondale, I have sewer and Canton water, I mean, they sure work with me, I guess.
It's just inside rates versus outside rates.
That's all, it's an inside-outside rate, you know.
If
But
it's
we
there,
have,
if the line
we
is
worked with them in so many allotments up when, again, when the majority of the people wanted sewer, the majority of people wanted water.
But there
Which is
was,
funny.
there was no, they didn't come around. I was very surprised to get this, because I thought it was relative to Meadow Lake, and it wasn't. So,
Well, we're left.
And that may have,
And that's-
that may have started that whole thought process too. I don't know.
Sure.
But they basically refused, they said they would refuse you if you wanted sewer or water.
They said, right now, if I were in a township requesting water and sewer, I would not be permitted to sign on to Kansas City at this time.
Unless they
A month down the road, now, it was, she didn't say this, but my evaluation of what she said was maybe a month or a year from now, if I would ask, then maybe they would. You know, she definitely said that it was a thing that sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. So my biggest concern, and the reason I'm here tonight, is that if this annexation goes through, because the north side of 44th Street is already Kansas City, the south side is not. We have these two properties amongst, as far as I know, that whole south side of 44th from Market to Plain Center, that's Plain Township. And if those two get annexed, is Kansas City likely to go after Martin's property and Boyer's, and then around the corner down to my property and Judy's
Well,
property?
it still comes down to, and I think we spoke about this at one of the previous meetings, it still comes down to what signatures they can get. It's a numbers game. It really is. It's not more complicated than that. In order for them to even be able to file the petition, they have to have a majority. So one more than 50%
50% of what, though? I
of
don't-
the number they're taking in.
Petition.
So if you have
Oh.
a neighborhood of 40 lots, they've got to have 21 lots sign off.
I see.
For 21 property owners, you can actually have a husband and wife count. That's 2 property owners. So if you have 40 property owners, you need 21 of them to sign off to get it filed. When they do these kinds of annexations, it's of only people that have said, I want to go in. So these 4 property owners on these 2 parcels have said, I want to go in. And so that's why these have a special procedure, and for some tax reasons, they stay in the township and that kind of stuff. But as far as you, if you did not want to go in, it would require a majority of people in the area they're looking to take to kind of take you with you. And as I explained, I think at the last meeting, when it's done that way, you have an opportunity to object. And you have an opportunity to show up at a hearing and give reasons why you wouldn't want to go in, and why it shouldn't go forward, those kinds of things. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I get the idea that this is a slam dunk with Canton City. And we didn't even know, and because there are 4 individuals, 2 couples involved in each of these properties, that they said, well, it's 100% that the people who are petitioning want to be in the city. So they slam dunked it. It was decided, and my understanding now is that the last thing that's left is approval with the Stark County Commissioners,
You're
which,
correct. And look at 7 statutory factors that are kind of technical things. They look at how it's drawn and all those kinds of things, the boundaries and all. And so long as those are met, it goes through. We've you know, with these expedited ones, especially because they stay in the township, at least partially, we've objected to dozens. I don't think we've ever won an expedited, annexation. Because quite frankly, the objection only triggers a review that they're looking at those factors anyway. And typically by the time they file, they know they're going to meet those factors. So to slam dunk is a pretty good word for it. It's likely to go in front of the commissioners regardless of whether we object or not and be approved.
Do you feel that your neighbors are educated enough to make the decision that they want to stay in Plain versus going to the city, or do they feel like they are forced and that's what they want? I mean, it comes down to talking to your neighbors and telling them, that they're knowledgeable, knowing that yes, township versus living in city.
I think we may be at that point. Our area has been through this before because we're sort of in a no man's land because of the north of 44th Street is already Kansas City, but the area south is not. We would have had a meeting about it, but we didn't even know.
Either did we.
And you tell them what, you did some informal calling, and they were pro-township, but you don't know. I mean, but we would be willing to have a meeting if somebody wanted to come and talk to us about the situation.
Or if it would even make a difference. I mean, if it isn't going to make a difference, then I don't know that it's even worth the time to do anything.
Well, when you say make a difference, do you mean in this particular case, or do you
In
mean
this case,
in your neighborhood?
Oh, well, I'm thinking in this particular case.
Well, in this particular case, I can tell you it's not likely to make much of a difference.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm guessing
But you're
those
talking
property
about in
owners
future.
approach.
Yeah.
We're talking about the future for
Yeah.
the existing.
Just for educational purposes, so the
Right.
people in your neighborhood know, they know the procedure, they know what they can expect, those kinds of things. I know, I don't want to speak for the board.
What's happened to us before?
We've had those meetings before with neighborhoods.
Some people get confused, I hate to say it, but the person having the petition saying, come to the city, they get confused and they make it sound so pleasing to them and they're not getting the right information. We've seen it happen to us before.
Well, I
And
think
that's
some
what we
people
want.
don't
We want to
even
make sure our
realize-
residents know, hey, we love living in Plain Township for this reason, not because someone has a petition trying to trick you into, hey, that looks better coming to the city. And I'm not saying anything bad about the city, but I don't like sometimes the way that is proceeded to our residents.
right, and
We've had it happen too many times.
I think that many people probably have no clue as to which jurisdiction they belong to. I mean, we're not in this generation that people understand social studies very well. And they don't even know you know, what the pros and cons are. So we would be interested in having, if, you know,
I think the best thing that anybody in the audience and the board and department heads can do is to send a letter to your legislator asking them to support House Bill 602, which deals directly with municipalities and what they call predatory annexation, meaning they hold the threat of water and sewer.
have you
For you
got
to annex.
paperwork on that I can look at?
I can email you the bill.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Or
it
I can
also
stop and-
requires that they charge inside rates to everybody.
So up on the frontage of Plain Center, Chuck, there's no water line that runs down. Is there?
No.
I don't think a water line runs between 44th and Martindale, which would mean that even if you wanted property, not only would you have to get clearance to be able to get water, they'd have to run a water line to you. And they're gonna look at that in a way that, you know, business-wise, how am I ever gonna make the cost of this water line up? Short of the residents actually paying for that water line. So that might be a business decision in those households that say, it's not worth it for me to pay that kind of money to be able to hook to Kansas City water. Now, are you also on sewer? Or
We're on Stark
all your
County
septic
sewer.
there? So you're on the county sewer. So,
Now, we're on Plain Center, both of us.
yeah, but
This is 44th that these houses are on, and I don't know if there's a difference in sewer lines.
well, so water has to be the only issue. Water has to be the only issue, because if you're on sewer, they're certainly on sewer, so they're not gonna get additional sewer, because they're already on the county sewer. So water has to be the only issue. What I'm surprised at, if that house is fairly new,
Brand new.
Brand new.
and they dug a well, and then now they wanna hook on.
There was a house already there, they tore it down, it was a log cabin, they tore it down.
Oh,
That's
So they might be on the old well.
Log cabin was there, that's right.
That's right, yes.
Oh,
And then they built that new house.
I would say
That's-
both houses probably have well water because the other house is older.
backyard.
Yeah.
And the city water would not have
and there's
existed.
Wow.
actually 3 lots there.
Yeah.
But one lot is split, same owners.
Right.
It's, so,
Well,
anything else? Any other questions? I appreciate you guys coming. and-
Just keep, if you have anything that we can read or do, we would, you know, like to know, and we would be willing, now that summer's coming, to have somebody come and talk to us, or we could come here and somebody could talk to us.
I mean, I'll,
I mean, if they want to maybe just gather their residents and pick a good time that they could come with, you know, the people contiguous to you, we'd be more than happy to do that.
We'll
Oh, absolutely.
consider it.
And we could do that,
Our law,
you know,
we set a work session.
yeah,
Bring 'em in.
absolutely. That would even be before our meeting, we do a work session, so,
It would be comforting for your residents, yes, to hear that, and then
because you guys will all be together and,
Let me ask you this question, in considering who to invite to this. This is I assume a 44th Street issue, as well as a Plain Center issue, but there's also Meadow Lake involved with it, which is 39th Street and Market Avenue from 39th Street to 44th Street. That's a lot of people. I don't think we could get that in anyone's residence, was what I was saying about
no, we
coming
can do
here.
it, we can do it here, we can use the training room at.
yeah.
Even though if you, I mean, you know, how many show up is always kind of a, how
Right.
many people actually come. If you guys had a good core of 10, 20 people that we could talk to and kind of inform you and educate you, then
we
you
can
can
do
spread
that.
the word,
We
you
can
know?
do that.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think that's kind of,
That'd be the best.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can do
yeah,
that.
we'd be more than happy.
Okay.
Thank you, though,
Thank
for
you.
your activism.
That's why we came.
Thank
Thank you.
so really, we have typically not objected based on the criteria we went through unless there was going to be a hearing, that kind of thing.
Right.
I'm willing to do whatever you guys want me to do, just not object.
Still telling you, the long term, I mean, Meadow Lake's the big one. The
Yeah.
bigger piece. I've said it, I'll stand behind it publicly, privately. There is whether it's conspiracy theory or not, Canton's looking to pull that entire area, and they'll be willing to take all of that residential area for the sake of gaining what business is sitting over there. And no different than when it was campaign season, the normal time. We're gonna have to fight like hell to continue to protect what commercial and business base we have, because I'll be damned if we're gonna give up any more of it today.
Sure.
And I'm in agreement, because it's happened way too much to us. That they come in, most of the time they leave our residents alone, but they're going after our businesses. I think they've taken quite a few, yes.
Okay.
And I back you 100% what you just said.
That's 200%.
200%.
That's
Absolutely.
300.
We can get it.
Absolutely.
All right. Moving on from that one?
Yes.
Okay. I just put a general update on, under Law Director, for what came up, I think it was last meeting, with regard to the landlord-tenant code issue. I've had a chance to go through those cases, and the truth of the matter is, this is not the kind of thing we can just enact.
Well, no.
We've got to start kind of ground level with this. One of the reasons that held up in its scrutiny through the appellate level and the Ohio Supreme Court was because Boardman Township had done so much groundwork. And it was challenged on, you can't do that as the government, blah, blah, blah. Well, Boardman Township was able to refute that based upon studies they had done. What percentage of your problems are stemming from multi-unit housing? And they had a high number. What percentage of your problems are coming from disinterested landlords? And they could demonstrate that. So we're probably going to have to come to the books a little bit to determine what we want to base this legislation on, so that it survives any kind of challenge. And that's something I can work with Tom with in terms of the best way to kind of get that started, and maybe report back to you and tell you, hey, I think we should do X, Y, and Z, so that we can have a leg to stand on.
I just know it was something that come through in the OTA.
Yeah.
Magazine has been a perpetual issue. I mean, we really faced it, like right when I come on, because of the 08, 09 market bust, but, we still deal with it's some of the recurring areas that, I hate to say it, but I mean, otherwise, where you're looking right off the middle branch, and it's purely, and I don't know who the landlord is, but I'm sorry, it's a slum landlord. You don't properly maintain a basic functional level, let alone aesthetics, it looks like crap.
Yeah.
And
There's
that's
some
not-
really good stuff in what Boardman did. I just want to make sure we have enough to stand on in court. That's the only kind of update I'm giving you, is that we're going to have to do some legwork.
Yeah, well, I think that was the whole intention of it, at least getting this ball rolling, not waving the wand and going, hey, it's here, but.
Yeah, and I think once we do that, it's really justifiable, it's reasonable, it's a direct reflection of your limited home rule power. I'm all for it, so long as we have those things in place.
The zoning department is already putting together a list of all the rentals, all of the abandoned properties, and we're beginning to correlate those properties with the nuisance abatements we've been doing.
Perfect.
So we're
Stuff like that are
starting to
very,
roll.
very helpful.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's what we need.
nice. I think that's a real good start. Thank you.
Sure.
No communications. That then takes us to the portion of the meeting of public speaks. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board on any issues, please give your name and address to the fiscal officer, and you can stay in the position you are if you want, or you can come up to the podium. Anyone? All right. Going once, twice. That takes us then to concerns of trustees, the DAR donation trustee house.
Yeah, all I wanted to, I think last meeting forgot to call attention to it, but we received a nice little donation from the Daughters of the American Revolution to go towards our Veterans Park hillside over there. And just like we recognize the other community partners that have contributed to it, I just wanted the record to reflect. They he had made a $50 check as a donation for Veterans Park from the Canton chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Actually, Joanne, Shirley, Moline, I had met when we were doing Wreaths Across America event, was speaking, and they thought it was a really moving project, so I just wanted to simply give them recognition for their
Thanks for sharing.
contribution.
Very nice.
Thank you. Concerns, any concerns of the fiscal officer?
No concerns.
All right, then that takes us to, we don't have that. So that takes us, we do have a need for executive session. Be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 7:01 p.m. From this regular scheduled meeting of April 24th, 2018 is authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of the consideration of 1A, appointment of a public employee or official. 1B, employment of a public employee or official. 1D, discipline of a public employee or official. 1F, compensation of a public employee or official.